Hey everyone, another knife review impressions video of this one right here, the Paramilitary 2 from Spyderco. This is what some people classify as the perfect knife, and I would tend to agree with that assessment, especially for someone who's on a budget, and if you want all the good materials, not the best materials, but if you want good materials and a knife that's going to hold up for sub $100, this would be the knife to get without any hesitation. I've since collected a lot of higher end knives, and so I don't use this knife or carry this knife all that much. But when you look online, and I don't know how many reviews, I would probably say over 100 reviews out there, probably more, of this knife. Most of them, I say the majority of them, are all raving, and the ones that don't like it are probably just because of the looks alone. So this is my quick impressions video of it. Comparison here: you have the Sage 1 with the carbon fiber, my TI Military ZT-0551, and my large Sebenza. So obviously this knife is built to be or look like the standard Spyderco Military, but there are a lot of changes that they made to this knife that make it special and that make it unique to itself. So it's not really fair to compare it against the military. Because I think in its own right, it's its own awesome knife. Anyway, so really quick here, in terms of specs, you've got an overall length of 8.23 inches or so. Blade length is about 3.5 inches, and then the blade thickness is 3.5 millimeters, which is a pretty good blade stock compared to this one being about 4 millimeters here. Your overall weight is 3.75 ounces, so sub 4-ounce knife. This is pretty spectacular for a knife this size and a knife this quality. You got the standard G10, and this the normal Paramilitary 2 is S30V, and I've had 2 of those versions, and they're awesome. I've since either given them away or traded them for other knives or sold them, but this one here is actually the sprint run version of the gray carpenter steel CTS 20CP. So obviously this gray scale has been dyed to indigo bluish purple, and they also have a sprint run version of the royal blue. I think it's royal blue scales with the M390 blade steel. That would be my ultimate pick for the Paramilitary 2. So if I could trade this one for that Bento Box Shop collaboration, or one from Spyderco, that would be awesome. Yeah, the M390 steel, I've heard so much about that, and I would love to get my hands on that Paramilitary too, and I would dump this one in a heartbeat. But anyway, that's a very limited run, and I'm not going to go out there and spend the cash just to get another Paramilitary 2, because I probably won't even carry it. But anyway, against this knife, 4-inch blade versus a 3.5-inch blade, overall length of 9 point something inches on this one, and actually I don't know, actually it's probably, I don't know if this one's 10 inches or not. I can't remember. But at 8.3 inches, this is an awesome blade. The one thing that makes this one special in particular, the military is typically going to be a liner lock. This one with its titanium is a frame lock version. But the Paramilitary 2 is particularly special because of the compression lock. This lock is up here, so it's not a lock back, and it's not. I think some people think that this is a liner lock on the top of the knife, and that could not be further from the truth. So the compression lock basically, and I don't know if you're going to be able to understand this, but they probably have diagrams somewhere online. But the way that the compression lock works is, you depress this little part here, and it looks like a liner, but what it is actually, if this being the liner lock right here, and this would be the stop pin right here on the knife. So if my index finger is there, and then this part is the top of the blade tang, as the blade comes around and swings into place, then the compression lock comes in right here, and then it's squeezed between the tang and the stop pin. So all the pressure is being put right here, on this compression or on this piece of metal. So versus a tang, once the blade comes here and then the lock or the liner lock or the frame lock, the pressure being put here, it's actually a compression, and so it's being pushed down on this little liner that swings this way and that way, but it's not like this, it's actually like this. So any kind of pressure on the blade is being pushed down, and all that pressure is being dispersed into this piece of steel here. So they say that the compression lock, along with the triad lock from cold steel, are supposed to be two of the strongest locks for folding knives. So that's really what makes this Paramilitary 2 stand out. There's a couple other knives from Spyderco that uses the compression lock. I'm not positive all of them. One of them was the ATR from a while back. That was a really cool special knife. That was actually a kind of like a frameless or frame lock, compression lock kind of thing. There was no scales or anything. So that one, the Salsa, and I think the Yojimbo, those are some of the compression lock models. There are probably some other ones that are out there. But in my opinion, I think the compression lock is probably one of my favorite locks out there. I wish more companies, I'm assuming it's patented by Spyderco. I kind of wish other companies could take advantage of using the compression lock, because I think it's a fabulous lock. Much better than Axis lock, better than a liner lock. I think my favorite one is the frame lock though, so I always love the frame lock the most. But this knife is an awesome knife. It's super smooth. The pivot system inside here is kind of reminiscent of Sebenza. It's got that little bushing inside, but it is a little bit different. It's shaped a little bit differently, and the screws on both sides here screw into that bushing. So but this one's kind of, again, it's kind of like the Sebenza. You can tighten these pivots down really tight, and it doesn't affect the blade all that much. This blade, I've cleaned it up, and I've taken it apart and all that kind of stuff, and it's super smooth, and centering is dead on perfect on this model. So anyway, the Paramilitary 2, in my opinion, ergonomically is probably one of the most comfortable knives out there. It really hugs your hand. I like it as much as Emerson ergonomics and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, if you're a beginning collector, or even if you're been collecting for a long time, I think the Paramilitary 2 is always a knife that's worth having in your collection somewhere. Whether it's in your car as an emergency knife or whatnot. This is always a great backup blade, in my opinion, or a great EDC blade. Again, I think for me it's just because I have all these other knives. Sometimes it's just hard to choose which one to carry. I think a lot of us are just spoiled like that. But this knife in its own right, if you're comparing it against any other knife, I think it's going to hold its own, and it is just a great knife by itself. So anyway, that's my impressions of the Paramilitary 2. Phenomenal knife, phenomenal steels, phenomenal options that you guys get when you get this knife. So I would say, get out there and get it. It's a great knife. Alright, so let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys in another video. Alright, thanks. Bye.